Kendrick is a top level lyricist. Somebody who has their own lane. You gotta be legend status. Like, that's it.
Pusha T and Kendrick Lamar will be forever connected. And not just because of their most recent collab, Chains and Whips, or because Clips had to leave their label situation just to clear that record, and not just because of their mutual dislike, well, disdain for a certain individual.
I hate the way that you dress.
Although that does play a part in this, but this video isn't about euphoria. It goes deeper than that. My name is Jeremy Hecht. Welcome to my channel where we discuss hip-hop, specifically the relationships between the biggest stars in the game. I had recently posted a video about Kendrick and why he dropped the Control verse that a lot of you guys liked, but somebody left this comment and I thought it'd be worth taking a deeper look into. On one of the first lines of Kendrick's Control verse, he almost tauntingly yells out,
"I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it,"
in a tone that differs from the rest of his nonchalant intro to that verse that feels really laid back. That is until he tells Flex to drop a bomb on the shit. But where else do we hear him reference his bars as something for fiends? That's right, his first Pusha T collab, Nosetalgia, which includes one of Kendrick's greatest guest verses, and that song title in itself is genius because it took me a while to actually figure out it was titled Nosetalgia. But here's where things get interesting. After Kendrick dropped Control, Drake did multiple interviews because of course he was promoting his album Nothing Was the Same, and that verse was inescapable at the time. So of course he had to answer questions about it. And in a now infamous interview with my co-host Elliot Wilson for his Crown series, Drake had this to say when Elliot asked about the Kendrick verse on Control.
Like someone yelled out Kendrick.
Nobody yelled out Kendrick. You just heard that in your head.
Now he takes a competitive stance with a verse like Control, and then you said that he's not murdering you in any platform, but that's where that rivalry. That's where people want to try to build. That's if you want to try to build a rivalry. Do you feel like that they're trying to create a competition that he's not on your level because of your accomplishments?
He's the new guy to love, and of course, I mean, rightfully so. He's super talented. He is the underdog. He's extremely hungry, and he's doing his thing really well. And that verse, he's giving people like moments. That verse was a moment to talk about. Are you listening to it now? Okay. And then, but it was real cool for like, a couple weeks. But like, if I asked you, for example, like, how does that verse start?
Oh, do you remember?
It'll go on in Complex and Rap Radar, give it like verse of the millennium and all that shit or whatever. Or maybe it was you that was like, is Kendrick Lamar your biggest competition like in this generation or whatever? Yeah. And I think that Kendrick has like the utmost potential, man.
In that same interview, he also says that he's waiting to see if Kendrick will have consistency, hits, and bodies of work before he can really consider him competition.
When it comes to competition, I'm more worried about consistency. I'm more worried about bodies of work. I'm talking about hit records.
Which is actually very funny when you see how things turned out, and in terms of Kendrick's bodies of work being considered some of the greatest albums of all time. Not to mention the one thing that really ended up winning that battle was a hit song. But in a lesser known interview with Power 106 and Big Boy at the time, listen closely to what Drake had to say when asked if he would be working with Kendrick Lamar again.
When you heard your name, did you feel like, man, like that was kind of disrespectful? Or did you feel like, our names were just kind of thrown in there? And
I feel like he made a decision, you know what I'm saying? And there was a decision to make. He was like, man, I'm either going to go for this moment because I know it's going to be a big moment, or I'm going to like take heed to the fact that I have real relationships and I'm going to like not do that. I'll be real, like I've thought of doing that before. I thought like, man, it would be crazy if I just went off on everybody, but it's just kind of like, where does it really get me? Then what? Then every time I rap, people are going to expect me to be confrontational, and when I'm not, then it's not entertaining. You know what I mean? It's like, it kind of puts you in a box a bit. So
I don't think that put Kendrick in a box.
I don't know if I necessarily respect it. We all make decisions. I'm sure he'll be good. He's talented as you know what I'm saying? He's going to have another album and another opportunity to take the world by storm. So he'll be all right, you know what I'm saying? Even if it doesn't feature, any of the names that he mentioned, which it probably won't, to be honest with you. I don't know who's going to go back from that and be like, yeah, let's link up and nah, you know what I'm saying? But he'll be all right. He's a talented dude.
Does it make you like not want to collab with him?
Yeah, I'm good right now, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just about this album and me, and I don't know necessarily if I feel like 100% like I'm not like, man, send me some, let's work. Like, nah, not really. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and shout out to Letty, who's a great interview, who was the one who asked that question and who was the one who was giving the pushback about Kendrick in that interview. But remember when he said he doesn't think any one of those people would work with Kendrick again? Well, he was partially right. And before I get into that list, I think it's also really funny how Kendrick calls back to this interview on Euphoria when he says,
you don't want to work with me no more, okay.
That was my best Kendrick impression, sorry. But Drake was partially right here. It kind of took a hold of Big Sean's promo run for his album Hall of Fame, and Jay Electronica's verse lived after Kendrick, so most people still have never heard it. I always say that if you were a DJ, you could drop a world exclusive premiere of Jay Electronica's verse on Control today, and people would be like, wait, this is a pretty dope verse. This is actually really good. When did this just came out? And I have a feeling Jay Electronica maybe harbored some resentment from that. And there's hints of his back and forth with Kendrick that we never really fully got to see. But
put some Kendrick on. Nah, other than that, other than cartoons and cereal, we don't know what these niggas talking about. We don't know what these lames, we don't know what these lames is talking about. We gonna control you in a minute. We don't know what these lames is talking about. Kendrick will body you. Look, you couldn't pay Kendrick $1 million. Kendrick wouldn't tell you. Kendrick could tell you himself he couldn't body me. Kendrick, look, Kendrick is my son. Kendrick is my baby. Kendrick wishes that he could be me.
Jay Electronica is set to have 16 more albums coming out soon, so maybe there's going to be bars on there for Kendrick. Who knows? Or maybe it will be about God and UFOs like we've seen so far. We never saw Kendrick do a verse with A$AP, Meek Mill, or Big Crit again. He's been cool with Tyler for a long time, but no music. Mac Miller did work with Kendrick, even though he did have to trick him into doing the collab. Kendrick was recording radio drops at Mac's studio, but Mac had an instrumental ready for Dot.
He was about to leave the studio. He had like the headphones on. I told the engineer just to like put the beat on the Pro Tools. Like he was literally walking out and heard the beat and he got right into creation mode.
You tricked him to do it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I always tell people if you're speaking to me and do not have music playing, in my head it's like, so I figured that he would be the same.
Of course, him and Cole had a song on Born Sinner where Kendrick did the hook, and they did the Black Friday thing where they rapped on each other's beats, but there was never another official song where they both rapped together, which is interesting. Even the Jeezy song with them both on it, they didn't both rap verses. We never saw them actually rap alongside each other, besides the collab project that never came out. Why do you guys think that is? Let me know in the comments. One man who did jump to reach the bar of competition that Kendrick set and didn't shy away from it at all was none other than Pusha T. In fact, Push said Kendrick thanked him for fully understanding the mission he was on during Control, unlike some of his other peers.
You know, the Control thing, man, like, as soon as he saw me, he said, yo, thank you so much for just, for understanding and not taking the verse the wrong way.
I like that.
And I was like, Kendrick, you don't know I'm different, bruh. I understand. Like, I listen to rap.
Right.
I understand.
It's the sport of hip-hop.
It's the sport. It's the sport of hip-hop. And I looked at it like, man, he shouted out his peers. And he was like, yo, I want to take something from your fan base, Mac Miller's fan base. I want to take all of that. When is that not the mission?
Which, to me, a lot of the rap battle that we ended up seeing could have been avoided had people really just taken into consideration what Kendrick was attempting to do and understood that he was really trying to light a fire under his peer group and raise the bar of competition. If Drake saw things like Pusha did, we might have avoided that battle altogether. But like Kanye said, I guess we'll never know. On October 7th, 2013, just 2 months after Control was released, Kendrick was featured on Pusha's solo album, My Name Is My Name. And what Drake asked Elliot was, do you remember the first line of Control? And while you probably couldn't remember it off top, Kendrick made sure you remembered that
I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it
line, which a lot of you guys watching probably have remembered since you first heard it. He made sure that on this verse, the first line was memorable. You want to see a dead body? Which is a hilarious way to start off that verse. Pusha T said that Kendrick recorded this feature verse prior to Control dropping, with the video shooting afterwards in LA.
He recorded it prior to Control. Then Control came out.
If Control came out first, would it have changed anything?
No. Like, we just shot the video for Nosetalgia. I actually went to Compton, 134th in Piru. And chill with the homies.
Okay.
Met Kendrick's family,
nice.
His friends.
But I think that Kendrick had already had the Control verse written and ready to go around the same time that he wrote this verse, because the sentiment around the time of this interview he did in reaction to the Control verse was all about competition.
It's very important for hip hop. I love it. I love that they have debates like that. We need that, It's competitive. A lot of people forget out here, even though we're doing these collaborations and stuff like that, and we cool at the same time, this is still rap.
And I truly think Kendrick thought this would elevate the competition amongst his peers with that verse. I mean, he literally says in the line after the name drops, What is competition? I'm trying to raise the bar high. Who trying to jump and get it? You're better off trying to skydive. I mean, he does then go into a 12-bar extended metaphor about how nobody can actually reach the bar, but I think his intention was to light a fire under his peer group and make rap as competitive as he once knew it to be. But that's not even the best connection here. The last line in the verse reveals that the entire time, Kendrick is telling his dad that his verses are crack and that he's closing the loop from his Control verse where he is selling it. He said, son, how come you think you could be my connect? I said, Pops, your ass is washed up with all due respect. He said, well, then show me how it all makes sense. Go figure, mother. Every verse is a brick, your son dope. On Control, the next bar after the
I don't smoke crack, mother, I sell it
is everything I rap is a quarter piece to your melon. So it's a clear connection, and I bet these verses were written around the same time, and this was purposefully done. If you've seen the Dissect video about this Kendrick verse, every number in that verse was intentional, so I have a hard time believing that every line in Control wasn't as intentional. Kendrick first used this metaphor of his verses being like crack back on Kendrick Lamar OD, where he said,
this shit is so dope, you might want to be my crack.
So Kendrick has been thinking about this metaphor for a long time. Pusha T, when talking about the verse in 2013, said this about Kendrick: he's like the voice of the new generation, a title which Drake had often referenced for himself. And Pusha at this point had already thrown shots back and forth with Drizzy, so I have a hard time believing that he didn't say those words purposefully to get under Drake's skin. Of course, Kendrick and Pusha's relationship continued and was even referenced on Euphoria, which we all know, which to me felt like a bit of an extension of Story of Adidon and a lot of the themes that Pusha was talking about, but Kendrick kind of went fully there and dug a little deeper and dissected Drake a little more than Pusha even did on Story of Adidon, although Story of Adidon was scathing. But let me know what the most scathing diss track of all time is. Yeah, F all that pushing P. Let me see you push a T. You better off spinning again on him. You think about pushing me. He's Terrence Thornton. I'm Terrence Crawford. Yeah, I'm whooping feet, which of course is amazing to see what Terrence Crawford just did. And the mix-up that Netflix had where they called Terrence Crawford Kendrick Lamar, which I still think somebody had to have just been a Kendrick fan and did that as a reference to Euphoria. I have such a hard time believing they actually mistook Terrence Crawford for Kendrick Lamar. I think that somebody was just a Kendrick fan and thought this was funny, which it kind of was, in my opinion. But let me know what you think. And of course, most recently with Chains and Whips, the optics of which were enough for Clips to have to move their entire album to a different label. But it's interesting looking back that Nosetalgia was kind of a foreshadowing to a lot of the things that we see today. But let me know what you think about the connection between these verses, Control and Nosetalgia. If there's another verse or bars that you would like me to dissect or take a look into, let me know in the comments. As always, I will be reading them and I will see you there. If you do like this video, all I ask is that you click subscribe and that you hit the like button or share with somebody that you think might like the video. It helps a lot. And if nobody else has told you yet today, I appreciate you. Dream good, live better. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.